Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I welcome you to this episode of the program Islam is Beautiful, a program that's put down to let you understand your deen as Muslims and add value to you as an individual. My name is Salma Aditi Lawal. Thank you for joining us.
Fortunate is he.
This program is sponsored in memory of Ajia Fauzia Kehinde Lola Ali. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant her Al-Jannah Firdaus. Ameen. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Today on the program we shall be discussing the topic preparing for death. This topic I know a lot of us would have some kind of edginess when we hear it, but really, we all are going to die someday, so we must, as Muslims, live our lives as if it's the last of the day that we spend. We live the day as if it is the last that we spend on earth, so we must prepare for death every time. And to do this, discuss and chit-chat with me, I have Sister Alima.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sister Sakina.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And Sister Khadija.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Fellow Muslims out there, I believe that we know that on the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah, we all pray to go to Al-Jannah Firdaus. But something was happened before that day come, and that's death. And so, how are we preparing for death? My sisters, we know that to us, death is something that is inevitable. Inshallah, bi qudratullah, we pray we live very long, and we pray that we live an impactful life. But really, how can one prepare for that? Sister Khadija.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Since death has been decreed by Almighty Allah, and it is inevitable, Surah to Allah, chapter 87, the first two verses said, praise the name of your Lord the Most High, who creates then disposes. It is part of life. It is part of the cycle of life. Once we are born into this world, and Allah gives us life till a certain age, we are bound to die. And it is not something that is time-bound. It's not something that respects age. That is why it's not too early to talk about it at any time. We pray to Almighty Allah to live long, with the fruits of our labor, and make our children the coolness of our eyes. But on the same breath, we still have to prepare for it. And our zakat is part of our preparation for it. Our salat is part of our preparation for it. Because we've been told that the first thing they'll ask us in the grave, the first thing they'll ask us is our prayers. So if we, as much as possible, can make sure we do it properly, those are part of preparing for life, for death.
Inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Now, Sister Sakina, what do you understand by preparing for death?
Yeah, mashallah. As we all know, as she rightly said, that death is inevitable, as Almighty Allah has prophesied in the Quran, Kullu nafsin za'ikatul maut, Quran chapter 3, verse 187, that every soul will taste death. So the Holy Prophet now told us to live our lives as if it will be the last. So as a Muslim, all the things Almighty Allah wants us to do, we should do it on a daily basis. It starts from having a strong faith in Almighty Allah and not associating any partner with Almighty Allah. Then it goes to the other pillars of Islam, observing your 5 daily prayers regularly, fasting in the month of Ramadan, and fasting doesn't limit to the month of Ramadan alone. Your Monday, Thursday fasting, then charity, zakat, sadaqat, every good deed that could earn you any reward is part of preparation for death.
Mashallah. Stalima, what's your take on that?
Mashallah. Like my fellow sisters have already said, from God we all came, and to Him we shall all return. Now, if you have that faith, and if you have that belief, if you believe in that, you would not be afraid of death, because you know that death is inevitable and it will come upon us at any given time. There's no timetable for it. There is no time limit. There's no age limit. It's upon us, and we have already accepted it. So I think preparing for it is just like my sisters have said. You have to be you have to prepare for it every day of your life. From the day you wake up, from the day you wake, and when you wake up in the morning, you bless God for giving you that, that privilege to witness that day. Because not only you have gone to bed that night, millions of people have gone to bed, and a couple of people will not wake up. For giving you that privilege to be among the living for that day alone, we should always glorify Allah. We should always thank Him, because coming from where we are in this part of the world, we know crises here and there, and we have been scaling. So we have to prepare for death, because it's lurking around. So we do all that we can in our worship, in our givings, in our behavioral aspects, behavioral tactics with people. So I think preparation, it takes a lengthy time.
Okay.
From the time that you know that death is upon you, you start preparing.
Now, alhamdulillah, I mean, you mentioned it, that in preparing for death, obeying Allah's dictates, as in the pillars of Islam, for instance, obeying them to the letter is one of the ways we can prepare for death. Really. Now, how can giving sadaqah prepare me for death?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Sadaqah is charity, and the act of giving itself is for the giver is a blessing from Almighty Allah. And since Almighty Allah has told us that this world is a passing comfort, and that the enduring home is when we leave this world, as much as possible, whatever will make us have the best of the enduring home is what we should do. And sadaqah is one of them, because there's this story I heard from my sister, that there were two friends. One of them was a cattle rearer, and his other friend was someone that prays very well. And one of the days, in the course of his prayers, he saw it that his friend, that is the cattle rearer, will die. And the cattle rearer came to see him as usual. They usually exchange gifts, and the cattle rearer was on his way, and he saw his friend in a very low mood and was crying. And the cattle rearer wondered what it was that made his friend so sad. But what the friend had seen in the course of his prayers is that he's going to lose his friend. And so he couldn't tell his friend that you're going to die. So the friend left him and went on with his cattle rearing. But because of the love they felt for each other, he kept thinking and praying for him that I don't want to lose my friends. So he started giving out of his cattle to people on the way. He started praying to God to please spare whatever it is that is making my friend so sad. Please, God, make him happy. At the end of the day, the angel of death averted, did not get to kill the cattle rearer that day, because of the sadaqah he kept giving, but God, the goodwill and everything. When he came back, his friend was delighted and happy to see him. Then the friend wondered, my friend did not die. The little things we do and think they're so small, they're not small. Even when they go a long way. When you see someone that is down and you just talk to the person, it's not all about money. It's about you trying as much as doing everything for the sake of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Invariably impacting people's lives monetarily, psychologically, showing affection and all of that is a form of sadaqah, and can also help you prepare for death, because it's like a bank, I believe, that you're storing all those good deeds that they will all stand up for you on the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah, inshallah. Now, Sister Sakina, if I am to give as much so that I can keep, saving up and all of that, what would you advise a Muslim to do if the sadaqah that he is meant to give is one that may be not in accordance with the will of Allah? So that he has a friend that does not believe in Allah, and for instance, he is to donate blood, let's say that now, to that person who is not a non-Muslim. It's a form of sadaqah to donate blood too, because you're saving lives, and if the person is not a Muslim. If I do that, do you think it's also going to be counted for me?
Yes, it is. It's going to count, because first of all, what goes around always comes around. And Almighty Allah is a God that is Rahman ar-Rahim. He extends His kindness, His generosity to the believers and the non-believers. So if you are in capacity of something that could save your fellow brother, of course it's your right, whether he is a Muslim or not. It's your right at that stage, because you don't even have a right to judge anybody. Because you that claim to be worshipping Allah, only God knows what kind of record you have before Him. So as much as possible, if you have anything in your capability to rescue your fellow brother, sister, Christian, Muslim, or even idolater, it's your obligation to try to render it.
I just wanted to establish the fact that doing sadaqah goes beyond discriminating that this
Yes,
person is a
because
Muslim. It will count
first
for
you are a
us.
human being
Yes,
before you are a Muslim or
Muslim.
any other.
And it will definitely count because the
Yeah.
last Rama surpasses all of that. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Now, in preparing for death, we know that a lot of us, when we hear death, we can also, do you think reading about it, listening to lectures about it can also help us?
Yes,
It does. It does, because we react to trauma differently.
Yes.
And people that have lost their loved ones would know how it feels. And it's difficult to tell somebody that this is the way you should react to, or this is the way you should grieve. The best way is to allow everyone that has lost a loved one to express themselves and grieve the way they should. There are books that really help you when it gets to a certain, because I had a personal experience, and when I couldn't stop crying, I had to pick a book, and from the book I realized that death is not only inevitable, we all will go through the throes of death the way Allah dictates. You can't say because someone died, and when he died, he was, had blood in his mouth, or he was foaming, that means he's a bad man, or he's a bad person, or because the woman went, it's like childbirth. Someone will get to the hospital and within 10 minutes have a child. The other will get to the hospital and maybe take 2-3 days. You can't say because of that person is bad, or because he was so ill before he died. No, it is death. So we must prepare for it. And the way anyone will go through it, it's totally different from the other. And the way we'll mourn for our dead is different. But what Islam says is that to avoid crying too much, they will always tell us that the tears would affect the dead. All you should do is keep praying for them, your Surah Al-Ikhlas, keep reciting them for them, Qur'an, recite it for them. But personally, when you maybe talk to other people that have gone through it, they express themselves, and you pick a book that is on or about death and read about it, you sometimes makes you feel better, and it gives you that acceptance. Because we all try not to talk about death. It's not a topic we relish talking about. And even before we lose our loved ones, we realize that in most cases, we don't prepare for death. We always try. When you pick a book, I personally, when I pick anything on death, I drop it immediately. On will, I drop it. But when it now happens, we now realize that we have not prepared. And so as not even to earn Allah's wrath. Because sometimes it hits you so hard, and you now look up to Allah as if He has committed, something, negative or so bad in your life. No, it is part of life. It is a cycle. To live is to die.
Now, talking about crying, sometimes I look at it, do you think the person is actually crying for the dead? I think about it sometimes. We're actually crying for ourselves, don't you think? Because the person's own is here. You're actually thinking that one day, someday, it may have been me. I think sometimes that's the reason why the trauma is so difficult for us. The thing is so hard.
Mashallah, to add to what she just said, no matter the number, no matter even if you cry up to a bucket of water, you can never raise it. It can't benefit the dead in any way. So the Holy Prophet recommended that, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that when you have somebody, if you lost somebody close to you, that there are only 3 ways of him getting a continual benefit of reward from Almighty Allah. That the first is the knowledge he passed on to people, that people benefit from. The second one is a child that prays for him, and that's what Almighty Allah recommended, that we should pray for our parents in Surah Bani Israel. That Allah nourished them as He nourished me when I was a child. Then the third one is charity, works of charity, like you could build a school, or you could make a well, or you could purposely dedicate yourself to cleaning the mosque every Friday. Try to do these things to augment whatever record he has before Almighty Allah.
Alhamdulillah. Now, as a Muslim, and you're there when a Muslim is dying, what can one do? Just in one word.
MashaAllah, the Holy Prophet recommended that if you're beside a Muslim and death is about to take him off, that you start reciting Surah Al-Yasin. You recite it continually, it will make the death, it will make it easier. And that will ease it.
Paving the path for the dead by continually reciting Surah Al-Yasin. And make sure you're lucky enough to be there. Maybe let the person recite the kalima, and La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah.
The person should just keep saying it so that the person, the hearing person, or
And if you're
the dying
standing
person
around
is-
the person, someone is reciting Surah Yasin, the others might be saying La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah. Once you know, and Allah might decide not to take that soul that day.
Allahu Akbar,
Allahu
Allahu
Akbar.
Akbar. May Allah make it easy for us all. And so now that we have known that all the acts of worship can help us prepare for death, and in preparing for death also we should know that seeking knowledge too is part of preparing for death. If you know about death, the trauma will be less, the shock will be less. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us to practice this deen. Islam is indeed a way of life, and it's a complete religion, and it makes it very beautiful. We are going to recommend to you a book that would help you on our read a book segment. Bismillah.
On this episode, we will be recommending to you this beautiful 264-page book titled The Pillars of Islam and Iman, written by Sheikh Muhammad bin Jamil Zeno. The book distinguishes the difference between the pillars of Islam and the articles of faith. It explains the meaning of every pillar chronologically, emphasizes the benefits of every word in the articles of faith, and what every Muslim must know about the religion of Islam. It is so deep and easy to understand because of the simple style and authentic sources that the author used. Take this book today and give your mind some value-adding duty. Remember, readers are leaders.
Every time you feel like you cannot go on, you feel so lost and that you're so alone. All you see is night and darkness all around. You feel so helpless, you can't see which way to go. Don't despair and never lose hope, 'cause Allah is always by your side. Insha'Allah, 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 you'll find your way. Insha'Allah, 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 you'll find your way. Every time you commit one more mistake, you feel you can't repent and that it's way too late. You're so confused, wrong decisions you have made haunt your mind and your heart is full of shame. But don't despair and never lose hope, 'cause Allah is always by your side. Insha'Allah, 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 you'll find your way. Insha'Allah, 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 you'll find your way. Turn to Allah, He's never far away. Put your trust in Him, raise your hands and pray. Ooh, yeah, Allah, guide my steps, don't let me go astray. You're the only one who can show me the way. Show me the way. Show me the way. Show me the way. Insha'Allah, Insha'Allah,
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. This is the facts that we think you should have for this week. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, you have listened to us. Please answer this question and win a beautiful gift item from Islam is Beautiful. Bismillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. My sisters, in one word, I want you to give that Muslim out there that is watching, that is going through so much, that still does not want to die yet. Of course, nobody wants to die now, but that knows that, okay, how do I prepare? I don't know how to. The person prays, we do all the acts of worship, but what other extra can the person do to just make sure that psychologically he's...
Well, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he died, one of his companions, Umar, said, the Prophet is not dead. No, he cannot die. But Abu Bakr came in, went in and confirmed that the Prophet was dead, and came out and told the congregation in the mosque that the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam knew that there was a chapter in the Quran that had already preceded it, that when the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam leaves. But look, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, those of you that are here that worship the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the Prophet is dead. But those of you that are here and worship Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, Allah lives on. Allah. So that is what we as Muslims must have at the back of our mind. That the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself said it, that the world is like a traveler that you're passing through, and during midday you get to a tree and you stay at the shade for a while, then you leave it again and move on. It is transient. Mm-hmm. We must live when we must live. May we live long.
Ameen. Ameen.
Yes, mashallah, viewers at home, it's important to know that death is regardless of age, is regardless of whatever attainment you have, and death is regardless of. But the most important thing is for you to have the fear of Almighty Allah and prepare, as all we have discussed earlier, that prepare for death, that death can come at any time, and you can always make sure you're in a good state. Whatever you do, you should always have a conscience to. You should always have an overview of whatever you have done in the day. That what if death overtakes me at this time? When I'm doing something wrong, what record am I going to present to Almighty Allah?
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. Salima.
Mashallah, my sisters have said it all, but I would just want to add that we are all Muslims. We should just be steadfast in our worship and closeness to Allah, because we all know that death will be upon us, though we won't know the appointed time. So we should try and stay close to our God and be steadfast.
May Allah make it easy for us. Ameen. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. That will be the size of our package on the program today. Death is something that would come knocking whether we like it or not. But in the meantime, how much value are you adding to the person next to you? What are you doing to appease Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala? What are you doing that's wrong that you know? We all know that when we do the wrong thing, that thing that you do not want people to see you do, that is the wrong one. But the right one is that thing that you want to do. We all feel it when you do a good deed. You always want to run to the mosque and do, but when you've involved yourself in a bad deed, even you will be shy to go to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So let us stop all the bad deeds and start taking up good deeds. All those good deeds will count for us, and they will serve as support for us on the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah, on the day when all will crave His mercy. Inshallah, bi qudratillah, may Allah count every single deed as acts of ibadah and make it count for us. My fellow Muslims out there, I wish you the very best in life, and I wish you a very good life. And as we say every time on this program, do not tell people that you are a Muslim. Let them see, show them that you are a Muslim. May Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala make it easy for us. We thank everyone who has made this program possible today, and we pray that Allah will reward every single one of you. Ameen. From my sisters and I here, we say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Fortunate is he.
This program is sponsored in memory of Ajia Fauzia Kehinde Lola Ali. May Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala grant her Al Jannah Firdaus. Ameen.